Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day. I have reached a milestone in this book that I promised to share when I reached it, so here we are. I am officially halfway done with this wonderful book by Rita Berman. Of the 92 colorable pages, I have just finished 46 of them, so I wanted to share that with you. One of the goals, I have two goals for this book, and one of them was when in 2021 I was planning a trip to Europe. I was going for a month by myself, and I knew I would want to color, but I didn't know what book I wanted to take, so I was keeping my eyes open. When Rita Berman announced this book, I knew it would be perfect since it's my travels in Europe and it's a nice small size, and I had landed on this palette of 24 pencils that I could roll up in this convenient little pouch. So my first goal for this book is to do the whole book with only these pencils. Nothing else. No white Posca or sparkles, which I don't use a lot of anyway, but nothing else but these pencils. So I think it's going really well. Some pages I love, some pages are fine. Rita's illustrations are always wonderful, but sometimes you just color some things quicker than others, and some things I've learned along the way that we'll cover when we go through. But I'm just going to do a quick flip through and show you the status of the book at this point, and then when it's all done, we'll do it again. I had a second secret goal for this book that if you follow me on Instagram, you already know what that goal is and whether it has come true. But I will tell you about it at the end. So just in case you don't follow me yet on Instagram, I'll put my handle up here. It's the same as this channel here on YouTube. So let's get started. We're not going to go in depth, but just kind of a quick flip through. Some pages I tend to throw down all the colors, and some I do even a more limited palette than the 24 pencils that I have. I just did this one a few weeks ago, and it's fine. I don't love it, especially after seeing all of the wonderful creations that some of you have done, but it's fine. It works well. I like the pink flowers. And it's a good start to the book. So I'm just going to flip through some of these. I really like the way this one turned out with the, the deep blues. I have two blue pencils that pretty much all the water is always going to be those two pencils. Sometimes having a limited palette makes things a lot easier. The one thing I did not realize, I didn't really pay attention to until I got into coloring this section, that this is probably really supposed to be snow. But I just made it a mountain, and it kind of fits the fallish theme that the rest of the page is. But anywho, almost everyone that I've seen color this page makes this as snow, so maybe that just makes my page a little different. Here's the map page. I loved. I liked doing that one a lot. This one was a lot of fun. Some of these, I like some of the individual parts, and overall I used all the colors obviously on this page, but I tried a little bit of a different background that you probably can't even hardly tell. That is the characteristic of a lot of my backgrounds because I do all my backgrounds in pencil up to this point, but they're so light the camera's not really picking them up too well, but just a little faded version of all the different colors that are reflected in the pictures themselves for the most part. So red is here, and blue and green is here, and blue, yellow. Anyway, I won't go through all the colors, but yeah, that was a fun page to do. These are obviously undone. This was another fun one. I colored this while I was planning my wardrobe for my trip. So I had that capsule wardrobe in my mind. I took only one carry-on bag and a backpack for my whole month. So I kind of had that mindset when I was doing this. I kind of did the whole suitcase if it was all my clothes. I know it's technically supposed to be the guys' clothes here and the girls' clothes here, but I just colored it like if it was all mine. I wanted them all to go together and make a capsule wardrobe. So there you go. That one was fun. I have 3 blue pencils, so the skies on almost every page are going to be one of those 3 colors. Again, that less choice sometimes makes it easier. This was one of the spreads that I colored while I was in France. I remember that specifically because I decided to use none of the neutral pencils on this page, so it's all the colors. but none of the browns or grays. So I called this one Candy Country because that's what it made me look like. This one over here, I did use obviously some of the neutrals, but this one, none. So I like that one. And it's one of the rare pages where the sky isn't one of my 3 blues. Just, you know, because purple sky, why not? Everything else is kind of psychedelic, so that purple sky worked. This was a buddy color that I did with someone whose name escapes me at the moment, but you can check it out along with the other one on my Instagram page. And this was only the browns. Let's see, I have 4 browns, 5 browns, and 2 bluish teals. So that 7 pencils did this whole page. So that's fun to experiment with the different shades of brown. And another one, pretty much used all of them. The city that I was in, Toulouse, is known for its pinkish hue to the buildings, so that's in honor of the city that I was in when I colored that one. Another nice little landscape, and I colored this one first, and then I colored this one, and it wasn't until I was in this one that I realized that this is a painting of this. I don't know why I never saw that before, but there it is. Luckily I did this one first, so I could do, you know, the pink here and the pink here and the lavender and the blue and the green. Although I think on this one you can't really see the green, but this is right here. So this one would be off over that side, but yeah, so that was fun. That kind of realization was, oh, that made me feel dumb for not having seen it before. But yeah, another fun little page. I did this one not in Europe, but on the beach. That little square, and those I just filled in as I could. So I didn't color all of this while I was in Europe. I started coloring it at home, but only when I wasn't at my house. So one of my habits is to like color at the local Starbucks on my day off. Or if we go on another trip, I have got taken to bringing it with me and just doing at least a little bit and then taking a picture of wherever I am when I color it. So again, all of those are in a highlight on my Instagram channel. So if you want to see the whole journey of this whole book to this point, it's there. I haven't posted by the time you view this video, I will have posted the last picture that I have done. That's the halfway point. It's just not posted at this time of filming. So I'm realizing that on camera, this is a lot darker than it is in real life. So this is that kind of it's very interesting. It's that same teal blue. So it's a kind of greenish blue, but on camera, it's turning out very much darker. Interesting. Well, again, Instagram has the truer colors, but that was fun to do something a little different with the swirls, the bubbles. Lots of pages left to do. Some of these pages are just iconic ones that I've seen so many beautiful versions of. I'm a little intimidated, so I'm going to have to get over some of those. I tried this one, this limited palette, because I had seen another section of another page I was coloring that you had those colors close together, the purples, the greens, and the yellows, and it looked really cool. So I tried out a whole page with just those colors. So that was kind of fun. Sometimes those inspirations for limited palettes and come from random places. So this one I really like. I did this page first, and a lot of times my method for a 2-page spread, whether they're specifically linked or not, is to use the same colors, but just invert them. So where this page has the yellow flowers and the pink background, I just use the pink for the flowers and the yellow for the background, and the red for the butterfly and the red for the ladybug. So yep, just swapped. I do that a lot. I don't know if I've done that much in this book, but a lot of Johanna Basford's books are like that. But I guess as we go through here, we'll see if I've forgotten other pages I did it in. This is the latest one I'm working on, obviously. My normal habit is to not have works in progress because I don't like to have pages unfinished. But since this is my traveling only book, I only do it when I'm at Starbucks, and I only do that once a week. Maybe more if I happen to be able to have a work day there, and I take it so I can do it while I'm taking my lunch break or something. So every once in a while I will do that. So work in progress. Kind of a challenge to do the bread and the pies with the limited amount of browns and yellows that I have, but it's a fun challenge overall. And I'm still working on my technique for the clouds. I think I have one now that I like, but at the time I did this, I wasn't quite sure. So those clouds are just kind of It's another limited, even more limited palette. So I think there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 pencils used on there. So that's fun, those limited palettes. I didn't color this whole page while I was in Paris, but I colored most of it. Some of it. I can't even remember now because I was only in Paris for a couple of days and one day was at Disneyland. So I didn't have a lot of coloring time in Paris. And you're in Paris, so you have to see some things. But the city that I was in, for the most part, I was there for a long time. And I had a lot of coloring time there. But that was another one I did while I was in France. Very fun. Reminded me of the buildings that I was seeing, so that was fun. Again, I tried to do some of this one while I was here. This one I had done at home before I left, but definitely visited many of these types of stores while I was traveling. I love her little purse house, and this is one of the, like I said before, mostly blue skies, but a couple of them have a different color, so I like those colors together. So this is the official last page I've finished. So this one was the exact halfway point, and I'm looking at the book. It might be actually halfway through the book itself physically, so I'll have to count those because that would have been a coincidence. But so that was number 46 and this was number 45. So I didn't intend for this one to have blue backgrounds in all the squares, but I think I started here and went this way, and by the time I got to this one I realized all the backgrounds were blue. And I thought, well, if I don't do blue on all of them now, it will look like a mistake or wouldn't look balanced. So the rest of the backgrounds decisions were done, since I only have 3 blues. Well, and 4 if you count that one. But okay, that was definitely a fun one. I did this side first, and I tried one technique on this one where I tried different colors for all the roofs, which was not my normal thing to do, so they're all kind of different. But when I got to this page, I wasn't sure how I felt about this one. It felt a little, I'm not sure, disorganized maybe, I'm not sure, but I didn't I loved the colors, but I wasn't sure how I felt about the buildings having the different color roofs. It just looked a little, so when I went to this side, I did all of the buildings in the neutrals, the browns and the grays, and all the colors only on the flowers and everything else. So they both have their merit, looking at them both, but I will probably tend to do more of them this way as opposed to this way, just because it makes the two things stand out from each other and not compete with each other. But I did like coming up with the curvy border for the sky, so that way I didn't have to color the whole page, and it just added a little something, made it look, kind of tied it in with down here where there's an irregular border. So that was fun. This one was tricky. These kind of mandala things aren't my super favorite, so I decided just to do each of them in a different limited palette. Obviously you can see which ones I chose, but I think I ended up using all the pencils by the time I was done, but only a few on each one. And I attempted to make these look like metal, so like some kind of green metal and colored metal with the limited pencils I had. I'm not sure how well I did there, but it's an interesting look, so I'm happy with it. And that way the colors on these don't really compete with the colors on those, so it worked well enough. I put off doing this one for the longest time because I've seen so many pretty ones, but it called to me. I think I probably did this one a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure, but I think it works. Some limited palette, you need a little chocolate on almost all of them, but I just pictured most of them as like that little sandy, shortbready types of cookies, or like a scone for that one with some chocolate drizzle. That's how I pictured all of them, so that's why I did them that way. Those were fun. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, I think this is one of the early on ones I did with all the buildings, and I tried just using a mixture of colors. It's okay. It's fine. It didn't knock my socks off, but it's okay. But you can see another way I did the clouds, so I was making progress. These were fun. Those are pretty self-explanatory. I think when I posted them, when I was working on this one, I wanted to do all of this trim in white, and seeing that I'm not using a Posca, really all I could do was just leave it white and not color it. It doesn't really stand out too much against the background, so I was like, well, I probably should do a background to help those stand out. But I couldn't land on a color that I liked well enough that worked on the whole thing, so I just left it. Maybe I'll go back and do something later, but probably not. But I do like this little touch where I made the colors of the letters the same colors of the tulips, so are the green, the stem, and the pink going into the yellow. So I liked being able to, I liked coming up with that, so that was fun. And those are pretty self-explanatory. I did this during the fall, so I was in a fall mood with the color palette, so that was fun. Like that. Patterned after some real photos I saw of streets with the red and the different shades of brown, so I liked those. I think probably going forward, most of the rest of the pages that have buildings like this, I'll probably do something like that with the reds and the browns, but we'll see. I did find a new picture that I saved on my phone that had a few more colors, so I might try to emulate one of those. Emulate that on one of the rest of the pages, but it's another limited palette attempt, so that was kind of fun. I have learned, I've started using putting lots of more blank pages in between, because I have several pages where after I did this page I colored something on one side or the other, I don't know, but then the color from here transferred onto there, so I have a lot of pages. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a lot of brown up in here, so a lot of pages where I'll need to do some erasing. It's just gonna get a little messy, but that's all right. Okay, that one, I like that one. I like the vivid blues. I think I did that at the beginning of the fall, so I was easing into fall mood, fall coloring with the leaves. I'll probably have to wait till next fall to finish this one, but we'll see how long it takes me to get there. This was another buddy color. We did this page together, and then I figured, well, I might as well just go on, because I think I finished this one before my partner did, and so I just thought, I'm gonna go and start this one. Well, she did the same thing and finished this one and made it, coordinating thing, so that we turned it into a double page buddy color, so that was fun. And her pages were so lovely and soft. I can't remember her name either. I didn't write that down before I started this video, so just if you want to see her version, very different, but both of her pages are really beautiful, so you can head over to Instagram. But again, I did the circles. I don't know why, I just felt like doing circles, so then I had to do similar circles over here. Just drew them in with a protractor, but I did that opposite thing again, where the background color here of the blues became the foreground color here, and the background color here is the foreground over here, and the clouds are exactly the same on both sides. This is where I think I started with the blue, experimenting with a different way to do clouds, so it's interesting to see the different variations of clouds. This one, I followed a color along from YouTube from Andrea Dionisio. I think that's how you say it, but her page turned out lovely, and so it was. Mine is not exactly the same because of I continue to use my limited palette, but I think I got pretty close to what she did, so I was happy enough with it. It's always fun to try to emulate someone else's style, but stay true to your own too. So, okay. This page, I don't know why, but I love this page. I think this is probably my favorite one because I used such a, I didn't use the blues or the pinks, just all the fall colors, and it was such a challenge to get all this variety with this limited number of pencils. So I just had to do a lot of experimenting with different combinations to get different colors, and I just really like it. And then I didn't do these at the same time. I did this one first and left this one for a while, but then I decided to, if this was fall, I wanted to make this one spring. So I used all the pinks and the lavenders and the light yellows, pretty much the opposite of what I did over there. So I like that comparison, that contrast. So I'm gonna see some more erasing I'm gonna have to do up in there. That's another one. It was fine. Lots of color transfer here. So, oh gosh, definitely some erasing I'm gonna have to do. Okay, so now, and this is why. Because we're coming to the second goal of this book, the secret goal. I love meeting people, and I knew I was going to be going to a different country, so I wanted to see. My secret goal was to, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what I decided to do was, when I was coloring this in public, because it had happened to me before, because I had colored in other books at our Starbucks here. Somebody will mention it, like, oh, that's nice, or oh, well, some kind of question or comment about it. So I decided to see if I could be brave, if while I was coloring this book, if somebody mentioned it or struck up a conversation about it, that I would ask them to color a piece of it. So the next page is a double page spread of random miscellaneous items that Rita likes to do in her books. So I dedicated those 2 pages for that project. I didn't know, and if nobody colored in it before the end of the video or before the end of the book, then I would just color it myself and call that a failed goal. But luckily, it did come true. Here at home, somebody mentioned it, and I was brave and asked him to color a piece. So since then, these are all the pieces that have been colored in by other people. And it's really been a fabulous experience, because while most of them, while they're coloring, they're sitting near me, so we chat while they color. And I've just met some really interesting people, and they all think this is a fabulous thing. Although the latest contributor, he colored these pencils and this rope. He didn't want to do it at first. He thought, oh no, you don't want me to do that. But I insisted, because I said I have had a 4-year-old girl color in it. So there was a little 4-year-old who was getting restless, waiting for her parents' order to get picked up. So I thought, well, I'm going to see if her parents would mind if I distracted her for a little bit while they're waiting. So she's 4 years old, and she colored in this whole section right there, and it's fabulous. So I said, if she can do it, you can. So he agreed, and he started coloring. I don't know which one he picked first, the pencils or the rope. I think the rope. But he then laughed, because he was just going to do the one thing, but he had so much fun, he decided to color something else. And his wife made a joke about having to get him his own coloring book, and I think that would be fabulous if he did. And then what was interesting, because that was a few weeks ago, last week I was at that same Starbucks when the same man and his wife were there, and he remembered me, they did, and he said, hey, we found that 4-year-old girl that you told me about. And I'm like, what? Well, he was at his credit union, and for whatever reason, he was striking up a conversation with the person that he knew there, because there was a regular employee there that he knew. So they were talking about it, and somehow this came up, this book, and he was probably telling them about this crazy lady who made me color in a coloring book. I don't know, but she said, that happened to me too. She had my daughter color in it. And it turned, so they compared notes, and sure enough, the mother of this little girl was the employee at the credit union where this man was a customer. And they talked about this book and thought how it was such an interesting idea. So that was really interesting. But then this bowl of cherries and these flowers I can't remember now, but I think this one, maybe, I'm not sure. And the cherry and this little flower were colored by some girls, some young ladies in France while I was there. Those are the only ones that happened in France, because most of the people who saw me didn't strike up a conversation, which may be just as well, because while I do speak a little French, probably not enough to have carried on a whole conversation, because the oversight was I didn't really prepare the language ahead of time for describing. But luckily they were on a school field trip at the park where I was coloring, so she spoke English. And so then while she was coloring in it, all her classmates ran over to find out what was happening, and many of them did not speak English, so I was talking to them, and they were talking to me in French, and we talked about strange things like cheese, and I don't know why, but it was a lot of fun. So that was definitely a goal that was met, and so I have the second half of the book to color, and I'll continue to do so and see what gets filled in between now and the end. And I think I decided when I get to the end of all the other pages, I'm assuming there will be things left, I will color the rest of them like just in the grays or some neutral color or something, so that the colors that were put on there by the people are what stand out. However, I realized my husband, because I've had all but one of my family members color something. We did that at Thanksgiving. He colored in gray, so I have to be creative, and my son colored in brown. So those are the two neutrals that I've got, but we'll see. Maybe I'll just do the lightest gray since he chose the darkest gray. But then back here, oh, there's one more page. I think I've colored. Yep, I think that was the first page I colored. What I did in the very back, because I'm neurotic about statistics, is when I started, I graphed out on these dots how long the pencils were. So I wanted to see how short they will, because I'm not using these pencils on anything else while I've done it. I've had to do it a couple of times. I think I needed this light tan for something. But for the most part, all of these pencils will only be in this book. So for instance, now this lavender is this long, and when it started it was this long. So I'm hoping that this lavender lasts for the rest of the book, because I can't buy this open stock. I love them, but I can't buy them open stock. So I'll post a picture here I'll post a picture here in the video with all these pencils laid out there, so you can see the difference. And yeah, that is it for this book, and I am excited to finish it and do a second video at the very end. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me, and have a great day.